Hello, family out there. This is Dr. Patricia, and today I want to talk about how to repair after cheating and adultery in your marriage. This is a serious matter, and I know a lot of families are dealing with it. You're either doing this right now or you've suffered your spouse cheated on you and know the pain of that. And so I want to come by today to really talk to you about the price of adultery and how to repair after if that has happened to you. A little bit about my story. I grew up seeing my dad cheating on his wife. And what he said, it was because she could not have children for him. I watched the excruciating pain that my stepmom endured as a result of my dad's infidelity and adultery. I watched when he met my mom after leaving her husband with seven children. Her husband was a chronic gambler and did not take care of her. And so she had to leave to find resources to take care of seven children. She stated that when she met my dad, she did not know he was legally married. And when she found out, she had already been pregnant for him. So there's no blame, and I'm not shaming my parents. I'm just saying that this cost a lot. It cost them, it almost cost them their lives. And so I watched my dad not only cheat on his wife, but he cheated on my mom. And the pain it caused my mother. There were two additional people that I knew of because my dad would take me to see them. And I watched the excruciating pain my stepmom suffered, my mom suffered, and it's a vicious triangling and a cycle. And everyone gets hurt in the wake of it. It's like a hurricane. People are not, they go untouched. They get profoundly impacted by when one chooses to commit adultery or cheating. And so that traumatized my life growing up, watching the constant fighting and the constant not trusting each other and fighting constantly. And then when I became 16 years old, I met my ex husband, which was a chronic cheater as well. And you might say, well, why did that happen? Well, you pick what's familiar. And I tell parents often your children become who you are or they attract who you are. Now I have stories that where I could talk about what happened and how God has blessed me tremendously to take my pain and turn it into a message. So you're getting parts of my pain, parts of my victories, and then the in between things that I had to process to become where I am now today. So this topic is a very, very important topic for me. I've lived it, I've witnessed it, I've coached many, many people that have endured it, and I've watched people really do really, really well when they're willing to put in the work. I've also witnessed people go through bitter divorce and battles because they were not willing to take responsibility and ownership for their behavior. I believe that when affair occurs in a marriage, that both person needs to take ownership and responsibility, even if one party that did not cheat is 10% to be to the responsibility. It is imperative that we take the responsibility and do the inner work so that this does not happen again. And so witnessing my father cheating on my stepmom was tremendous pain because when my mom and him would get into big fights, my mom would put my dad out with me with him. And when she would take me to my stepmom, she was very bitter and angry, and it's understandable why she would do so. I've witnessed a couple of my brothers cheat chronically in their family, and I watched the consequences of those relationships. And so when I got in a relationship, I wanted to be married and he wanted to be married. But he wanted to be married and still cheat. So our whole engagement, he cheated. When he first met me, he cheated. And there were a couple times in the marriage that he cheated. And it was traumatizing. I almost got a nervous breakdown having to deal with that with three young children. And a lot of people don't understand the magnitude of how cheating and adultery cost. They do not understand the pain that accompanies that. And today, I want you to know that there is hope. And if you are engaging in that, you can get help. You can stop. You can leave a different legacy and you can have a different family system if you decide to do the inner work and be totally honest and take responsibility. So, a couple of quotes that I would like to read. When adultery walks in, everything worth having walks out the door, right? Adultery occurs in the head long before it occurs in the bed. It occurs long in the head and the heart, long before it occurs in the bed. Adultery is a moment of pleasure and a lifetime of pain, chaos, drama, brokenness, woundedness, shattered lives, and an erosion of trust between two people. And I know I see certain country where this is prevalent. I've been to Guyana 5 times because I left Guyana 40 years ago. And so I've watched how many people having to deal with this situation. Women after women I was talking to while I was there, coaching them, that was dealing with men that were cheating or the women were cheating. And so it end people up in some bad destination, the graveyard mental institution or the jailhouse. Those three destinations. Because what happens, people end up killing each other. And you have more domestic violence occur from love relationship that went bad because one person decided to be unfaithful. And so I want you to think about the cost of adultery and cheating in your relationship. Now, some people justify this by saying, I am the breadwinner and I provide everything for them. They have clothes and food and shelter and they do not need anything. So I have a right, a pass, if you will, to cheat, to commit adultery. No, you don't. Because if you're dealing with yourself alone, that might be a little bit, it's not okay, but you might be dealing with it a little where there's not a lot of crazy. But if you have a family and they're depending upon you, it is a lot more than you want to pay. And I often tell people this: sin will cost you more than you want to pay, keep you longer than you want to stay, and take you further than you want to go. So decide now, do you want to leave a legacy of brokenness and woundedness? Okay. So some of the things that I want to go over, if you want to end the affair and if you've had an affair, what to do about it. But before I do that, there's some scripture that I would like to read. Exodus 20:14 states, "You shall not commit adultery." It didn't say ponder it, think about it. If things are bad at home, we're fighting a lot, I'm bored, I'm watching pornography, I want more excitement. It will cost you a lot. And if there are issues at home, get someone to help you. I know Guyana do not have a lot of therapists or coaches that can help with this, but do a video, a YouTube video, call a pastor, talk to an intelligent, trusted friend that can help you process it. Read a book, Google a book, how to handle anger, how to handle rage. What do I do if I'm actively cheating? How do I stop this so that I can mitigate perhaps domestic violence, perhaps suicide or homicide? Find some sort of solution to deal with this. The other scripture that I would like to highlight is Matthew 19:9. And I say to you, whoever divorces his wife except for sexual immorality and marries another commits adultery, and whoever marries her who is divorced commits adultery. So this scripture is basically saying to us, you have people that they are committing adultery with someone else's wife or someone else's husband, and they feel that that's okay to do. But remember, if that person was unfaithful to you, they're going to be to their husband or wife, they will be unfaithful to you, because we don't have marriage problems. We have individual problems that have unfinished business, because we're a collective body of what we bring from our past history, things that we have collected character defects that we have collected along the way, trauma and drama from childhood, parents of origin that we have seen witness, like my dad cheated chronically. And he really didn't stop until, I don't know, close to his death. And it was really, really sad to watch. And I suffer tremendously because of what he did. But I've learned a lot of, because of my pain, what not to do. And so I made a covenant and I made a decision that I will not be faithful to my marriage no matter what happened. And I remember there were times that my ex would say to me, "Why don't you cheat too? Why don't you cheat?" And I would say to him often, "The reason you're saying that is because you want us to be even. But if I cheat on you, I will be cheating on my commitment that I made to God." And I don't want to spiritualize this here, family, because people have different reasons why they commit adultery. They're not one reasons, they're different reasons. So I'm not here to shame you or blame you. I'm here to tell you that you can have a brand new life. You can have a different life that does not include adultery or cheating, because I did it. There were many, many instances where God gave me, helped me. I made the decision to get therapy, to get a life coach, to read books, to download YouTube videos, to find how do I become a better version. And instead of reacting to what happened, how can I be proactive to what's happening to me? The other scripture that I would like to read is Exodus 20:17. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife. You know, a lot of people, they will see somebody's wife and they were like the shape, like who they are, and the adultery start in the head before it start in the bed. And they will ponder that. They will go and do extra things. They will do, buy a gift or whatever, but they set out not to be integral. I remember I was in Guyana, the third trip, and the person that was driving me, he said, I have my woman at home, but I have 7 or 8 other people with her, and she's okay with that because I buy her everything. And he proceeded later on another day to ask me if he can buy me a cell phone and find a place for me to stay. So he wanted me to be the 8th person that he was shacking up with. And I want to encourage you, women and men, if you're compromising your life, it's not worth it, because you don't want someone cheating on you. So why are you cheating on the person that means a lot to you? And I often say this, that you have a precious diamond. Why are you throwing away your precious diamond for a piece of rock? And a lot of times people give up their 80 to get the 20. And when they realize that it's a 20 in terms of what that person brings to the table, it's too late. From my life, I am here to speak about it because I lived this, I grieved it, I had to go through a process not to let it make me bitter, angry, and stuck. And I'm a better person as a result of the pain that I've endured. It is possible to get over this. It is possible to have an amazing life after cheating and adultery. And sometimes you might not be able to stay with that person because that person is not willing to change. They're not willing to grow. So here are some of the steps that I would like to encourage you to take. Promise to stop the affair and to stop seeing the person that you are seeing. Promise to stop having the affair and to stop seeing the person that you're seeing. You got to cut the blood supply. You got to cut your connection to the person that you're seeing. How to repair after cheating and adultery. Stop the affair. Change your phone number. Tell the person you're ending it. And then you don't want to play with it. You keep maybe a token they've given you, a gift that they've given you, a perfume that they've given you, so that you could keep that memory alive. You have to cut it completely. Completely cut it off. Change your number. Disconnect from the person. Disconnect from what happens. Agree to sever all contact. This and the life of secrecy. You want to make a decision not to have a secret life, because people sometimes have three different lives: a public life, a private life, and a secret life. You want to give up your secret life because secret can kill you. We are sick of our secrets. And a lot of people think secrets can help you. Secrets will actually rob you of an amazing life. The second thing that want to encourage you, if you want to repair your marriage, answer any and all questions that your spouse might be asking. More, and here is something that I want to give a little warning. A lot of times when someone is found out cheating, the wife might have a lot of questions, or the husband might have a lot of questions. You want to make sure that that person is mentally stable to comprehend and to process what you're telling them. Because if they're not in a place that they can take the truth from you, it will then traumatize them more. And they can decide to say, I'm going to get even with you. I remember a story I was told. This woman was cheating on her husband. Sorry, the husband was cheating on the woman. And this happened in Guyana. I wouldn't call the details of it, I wouldn't speak. And the woman started cheating on her husband. Then she left with the guy she was cheating with. The husband contacted her and said, I want to make the marriage work. I love you and I want you to come back. When she returned, he beat her so bad to the point she was dying. She ended up passing away, but he tried to bury her alive. This is what happens in different country, and we keep ignoring this. And according to the stats, divorce continue to rise, domestic violence continue to rise, cheating and adultery is very prevalent. Would you stop the bleeding? Would you make a decision that, as for you, you're not going to continue this legacy? In answering questions from your spouse, be careful. But the reason I say to answer questions when they're asking you is because you wouldn't have that leverage of secrecy that you're hiding something. It would be in the open. You'll be telling them, look, I did this, I want to stop. Can we get some help? And make a decision that you will end all communication. Because here is what happened. The reason your spouse is asking you questions because they feel betrayed. They feel they're ugly. They feel that they're not enough. They feel like every time you go out, this is going to happen. So in order to prevent that, you have to put things in place. And the reason this is important is some people, they don't stop until they get somebody catch them in the act, or they get a phone bill sent to the house, or a message was sent and they get caught. If they didn't get caught, they would continue to do it. So answer questions that your mate might be asking you, but make sure it's safe to do so. The other thing, show your spouse empathy no matter what. You know, some people said, they use this term, don't be wrong and strong. You know, you've done something that is very bad to the marriage, detrimental to your entire family. You know, as a little girl growing up, I never understood why every person around me, that men that I knew, was cheating. I could not figure that out for the life of me. I witnessed that as a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 10-year-old. I left Guyana when I was 19 years old. But that is what I witnessed. Family members, friends, neighbors. And it appeared that it was a double standard. If the woman cheated, the woman deserved to die. The woman deserved to be beaten and abused. right? But if the man do it, it's okay for the man. That is not the right way. What you don't want for yourself, don't do it for someone else. You don't want anybody cheating on your daughter. You don't want your son cheat on his wife and end up getting hurt or perhaps killed. So show empathy. The single best indicator of whether a relationship can survive infidelity is how much empathy one show for the unfaithful partner when this occur. I've seen people commit adultery and cheat, and when confronted, they were bitter and raging and angry and did not want to discuss anything about it. I remember a story briefly when I found out that my ex was cheating at our 19th anniversary. He did it on the 18th anniversary, he did it on the 19th anniversary. And I remember what it felt like. It was like a knife put through me and it was turning in every direction. Now, if I didn't have my three children at that time and I didn't have God to know that He loves me no matter what happened, I might not be here. I might have been, I might have taken my life. I might have been angry. I might have abandoned my children. Yet we see this happening day after day, week after week. But I'm coming to tell you there is hope. You can find a different life and you can get help. So show empathy, show compassion. When empathy and compassion is missing, rage and anger and bitterness, entitled resentment can fester and grow into domestic violence and ultimately homicide or suicide. I've seen people where they were empathetic and compassionate and things turn around. That was not my case. In my case, the story about what I endure, there were a lot of defensiveness. There was a lot of blame. There was a lot of anger. And that made a world of a difference. And that made me even more sad and more depressed. But because I made a decision that I did not want this to affect my children, I sought out help. I got a counselor that I started seeing. I went to a group called AA. I went to a group called Al Anon. I went to a wonderful workshop, and it's called Healing is a Choice. That was a 3-day workshop. I saved a little money, and I took the money and I went to the workshop. I was able to understand why people cheat, why people have multiple partners, what caused them. I believe a lot of times what happened is unfinished business. It's a void that they want to fill. They're bored. They're not being satisfied with the person that they've picked as a mate. But we don't solve a problem with creating another problem. We don't solve a problem by creating multiple other problems. And it doesn't give us a license when we are having problem in a marriage relationship to cheat on our spouse. Because you're dealing with the problems that exist, now you're adding additional problem to your life. So show empathy no matter what and compassion. And if you don't know how to show empathy and compassion, ask somebody that you trust. Ask a pastor or a leader that is ethical and integral. Unfortunately, people turn to help to ministers sometimes, and the ministers will end up hitting on them. It's sad, but it's a reality. How to heal from cheating and adultery? Keep talking and listening no matter how long it takes. You know, I see a lot of times when I'm coaching people, the one that committed the adultery or cheat never want to bring up the topic because they feel you do it, move on and pass, don't worry about it. But people suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder that's been cheated on. They go through a lot of depression. They go through hopelessness. They blame themselves. Was I too fat? Was I too thin? Was I ugly? Was I good enough? Fortunately for me, and I say this with all humility, I didn't blame myself for what my ex had done when we just met, when we were engaged, and then after marriage when he did that. The only regret that I have is that I did not leave earlier. Now, my ex is not a monster. He's a wonderful human being, but there was some unfinished business and some brokenness inside of him from his past, from what he had done himself. So he's gotten better. We talk, we're good, we get along, but it costs a lot, right? So keep talking and keep listening. A lot of time you might want to get past that, but your wife might want to talk about it. She might want to understand certain things. She might want to know, well, why did you do that? Was I not good enough? What happened to me? And for those that a spouse cheated on you, monitor your rage and anger and how you deal with the situation. Because what I see a lot of time, people ruminate and obsess over what has happened, and they don't have energy or space in their life to receive the healing that is necessary. And it's like saying, I have a broken back, but I'm not willing to get any help. And you can't do this on your own. You need to get help. You need to find a professional person that do therapy, or you need to get coaching, or you need to find a trusted pastor, someone respectful in the area to help you through this process. Google, YouTube, find ministry that talk about the subject matter. So keep listening. Though all couples should improve and strengthen their listening skills, it's especially important in a situation where infidelity has occurred. You need to sharpen your listening skills and allow the other person to talk and to grieve and to process it. So it's not only the person that you cheated on need help, you need help because both persons are wounded and hurt. So sharpen your communication skills. Find out how to carefully listen while the other person is talking. What people do a lot of time, they scream and they holler and they fight and they put each other down and they tell you that you're the dirtiest dog and all men are like dogs. That's not communicating. That's like putting salt in an open wound and expect it to heal. It doesn't heal. So keep talking and keep listening, but it's got to be in a safe place. Unfortunately, a lot of countries do not have the resources or the tool for couples to properly heal from infidelity and cheating. So what people do, they end up leaving that and then repeat the cycle in another relationship. Number 5, take responsibility. Blaming your partner for the affair won't heal your marriage. Showing sincere regret and remorse will. Let me repeat that. Blaming your partner for the affair won't heal your marriage. Showing sincere regret and remorse will. And I remember, when I found out what happened, and I asked, I said, what happened? There were no regret or remorse. It happened later, like 5, 6 years later, maybe 3 years later. But I had to suffer the whole time. But I'm grateful that I didn't stay in the suffering. I got up and said, what is it that I can do differently to require being treated in a different way? Because I'm valuable to God. I'm not to be stomped on. Because my children are watching what's happening. So I had to get up and get the help that I needed. Apologize often and vow to never commit adultery again. It may seem obvious to you that you'll never stray again, but your spouse may have worries every time you go out, every time you answer the cell phone, every time you say, I'm going to be a little late. They are going to have that in the back of their mind. So you take responsibility. What I see happen often is the one that was cheating blaming the other one. You made me cheat. because you don't do this or you don't do that. No, you cheat because you decide to cheat. Yes, there are problems, but you cheat because you decide to cheat. But there is help, there is a better way to live. So remember, blaming never help. Taking responsibility and ownership and finding out what was the reason that this happened. What were you looking for? What was missing in your relationship and internally in your own life? What was it that was missing? Don't expect quick or easy forgiveness from the other person. Forgiveness is a process. It doesn't happen all of a sudden. And unfortunately, what a lot of churches teaches women, a lot of women I know been cheated on, what the church will teach them is that if you don't forgive, God don't forgive you. Forgiveness is a process, and forgiveness doesn't mean you let the person that betray you back into your life. It doesn't mean that you give them free access to your heart to stomp on you. Forgiveness doesn't mean you trust somebody that has been untrustworthy. What forgiveness is for you as an individual, so you don't get cancer, so you don't get a nervous breakdown, so you don't become bitter, because you can become bitter or better. I decided when this was happening to me that I'm not going to be bitter and gain 100 pounds. I'm not going to take the bitterness out on my children because it's poisonous. It costs. It costs you holistically. It costs you your mental real estate. It costs you your physical space. It costs you your relational space. So you make a decision to say that I will not stay in bitterness. So forgiveness is a process. Your husband or wife may be in deep pain or shock because of the affair. I remember being in such a shock that I didn't know what to do. And well-meaning Christian would come around me and tell me, you just need to forgive. But I remember it was a cold winter day, and I had awakened my children to go to school. And I found out that morning that my ex was going to spend the day with the person that he was cheating on. We were struggling financially. The kids were in a private school and they demand a lot of time and projects and drive them here and pick them up there. And they were in music, and one was in karate and one was in soccer. And I had to clean and cook the house and prepare dinner. And I remember the hopelessness I felt. I felt so hopeless. And I remember what my dad was doing to my stepmom. And I made a decision that I'm going to get the help that I need to help me navigate this process so that I don't become reactive and bitter. I don't become reactive and bitter. Make a choice as well to get the help that you need if you're the cheater or you've been cheated on. Remember, forgiveness is a process. And they said, you need to forget. You don't forget when someone has betrayed you or stomp on you or take away the things that's rightfully yours. So your mate might be dealing with a lot of pain and shock, rage, anger, tears, regret, hopelessness, depression. Don't expect them to heal quickly and to forgive quickly. If you really want your marriage, walk with them through that process, but invite someone to help you guys. You want to get help for yourself, and you want to get help for your spouse. So what does that look like? We went through some steps that you can do. But here's the thing. A lot of people do not have the right resources or the help close by. So some of the things that I've shared with the women that I've helped, I said, begin to put money away so that you can travel. If this become a terrible situation, They come in late one night, you know they were cheating. What do? Begin to educate yourself, begin to empower yourself. If you can find a little business, find a business, become financially independent. Ask a family member to help you. I'm sure some of you have mothers and fathers and family that can help you. Have a plan of action how you can empower your life. Because what I've witnessed is that when you choose to empower your life and not depend upon that person, they have a different respect for you. What I started to do, maybe before the affair, I started helping with the company. I became very clear how to run the company, all the details that was attached to the company. Because what I found out as well with my story is that he was going to have the other person run the company, but because I was knowledgeable of the company and I knew what was going on and I was running the finances, I was aware what's happening. So equip yourself, empower yourself. If it's a woman and you don't know what to do, I'm sure there are organizations in your area that will help women that are going through this. So equip yourself, find a small business that you can do. If you can sew, if you could bake cakes, if you can write, or you could do articles, you can do an online business, find out how you can do an online business. Maybe you can make cupcakes and sell, maybe you could plant and sell flowers, but do something to equip your life so that you become better. If you're dealing with things where you deal with rage and anger and you're very bitter, fix those things in yourself. Don't keep blaming the other person. Now I'm talking to women. A lot of women had fathers that were very controlling and domineering. So they come out from that situation and they want to become very domineering and controlling as well. So whatever it is that you need to fix, and I'm talking to the person that did not cheat, the one that was cheated on. Whatever responsibility that you need to take to fix your own life, be radically committed to that. Make sure you're not eating everything that you can see so you become overweight and you have a lot of other sicknesses and a lot of issue to deal with. You want to make sure that you're taking care of your health. I want to encourage you as well. Some of the things that I did, I began to take a regimen, a natural regimen. And I began to take like B complex, adrenal support, super omega for my brain. I began to take a regimen so that I can feel better in my body. I wanted to cut sugar out as well from my diet. So, because you need your mental stability to deal with the problems that's happening. But when you eat wrong and you don't sleep right and you're dealing with rage and anger and bitterness, you don't have the money. It could be a combination of things that will keep you stuck or keep you hopeless and keep you in a depressed state. If you're dealing with depression and anxiety, and people say, and you know it's a mental illness, don't let it keep you stuck. Many people deal with mental illness, and mental illness is people attach a negative stigma to mental illness. But if someone had diabetes or cancer, they won't be blamed for that. They would get the help that they need. So with mental illness could be anxiety, it could be depression, it could be chemical imbalance, it could be mood swing, it could be bipolar. It's lots of things that would be named after mental illness. So I want to encourage you that if you know you're dealing with anxiety or depression or any other mental illness, don't let that keep you back from getting help. You deserve to be the best version who God created you to be, and you deserve to show up in a healthy way for your family, but more importantly, for yourself. If you're not healthy, you cannot have a healthy family. So I can tell you from my past experience, because I was willing to be committed to go to every seminar that I can go to, read as much books on the subject matter, how to become healthy, how to deal with anger, how to heal from my past, I've gone to the Landmark Forum, Celebrate Recovery, Healing is a Choice, Every Heart Restore. I've spent thousands of dollars when I did have the money to get help and to heal because I don't want to bring all the unfinished business in a new relationship. So this is all for now. I pray that you would hear, receive, and you would share. You would share this information, invite someone to listen to the program because I believe we can mitigate domestic violence and suicide because people, when they get hopeless and helpless, they feel there is no way out. I might as well end it. No, there's a future for you, and you can live a better life and turn this thing around.